The 9 Years podcast is brought to you in association with Season Master and the Window Workshop. All right, everybody, and welcome to episode 333 of the 9 Years podcast, which is, I guess, half as evil as it could be. I am Nick Draper. I am joined, as always, by the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins. Thank you very much for downloading the show this week. We are going to be talking about our last few games and the games coming up over the Christmas period. We have a win at Crawley to discuss, a defeat at home to Sutton to discuss, games with Colchester and Forest Green to look forward to. We're thinking a little bit ahead to the January transfer window, and of course, Aaron's Super Match game will be making its return. But before we get into any of that, Stu, it's been a while. I don't think we ever managed to talk about the fantastic 4-0 win over Swindon from a few weeks back, if I remember correctly. I don't recall having this conversation with you. I thought at the time that was the best we'd played in years. It transpires since then that Swindon are a little bit rubbish, but that doesn't take away from our performance on that particular afternoon.
Yeah, do you know what is interesting about Swindon? It's got me thinking. Also, now we're going to discuss the transfer window opening up in a little while. You know, our Christmas present to us all. We'll hopefully get loads of Christmas presents from Craco. No pressure. But you know what got me thinking about that Swindon? So we had a Swindon journalist on our live show on Tom's TV, and we were talking about. I didn't realise they've always had lots of loans, haven't they?
Mhm.
Swindon tend to do a lot of loans, and I didn't realise that both their forwards, Young and Kemp,
Mm.
are on loan
Well,
from
yes.
League Two clubs, which again is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, the Kemp thing is mad, but yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting one because let's be fair, they had two of the best in terms of goal output
Mm.
in the league, and we
Mm.
kept a clean sheet, which again shows you how good we were in that game.
Do you
Yeah,
mean did you want to say the new phrase with all this new language that goes around football these days? Did you mean say goal involvements as opposed to goal output?
no goal output, yeah, outputs. Yeah, do you know what the goal involvements has come in it? Do you know what I mean? It was I listening to. I was listening to obviously a competitor podcast would be the Alan Shearer, Gary Lineker, and Micah
Yeah,
Richards.
we're big rivals with them. We're fighting for
I know
listeners
exactly.
all the time. All the
It's a
time.
football podcast. I apologise for plugging their show. But it was interesting because Alan Shearer was basically saying he still can't get the hang of expected goals.
No.
Like, how do you work it out? And immediately you come to my mind just thinking, yep, it would be exactly the same. These new stats, just keep it in old money.
Yeah, keep exactly that. Exactly that. So much nonsense spouted about the game. And I mean, funnily enough, that does bring us onto the Sutton United game in some respects. But just to say beforehand, yeah, just to finish off on that, 4-0 win over Swindon, absolutely fantastic. A win over a top half team. I think we that was the first time we'd done it. We have done it again since obviously we've beaten Notts County, sorry. I do apologise. But now we've done it twice. No, three times because we did beat Crawley as well. Um, but yeah, I think we were all full steam ahead after that Sutton result, weren't we? In the midst of some big FA Cup wins as well.
Yeah, yeah. And funny story from that. Obviously, I was down the tunnel area after a game waiting for the interview. I think we had Al Hamady. Yeah, we did. We had Addy on there, and Harry Pell was hilarious because normally the subs have to then do some after match runs to get them. And Harry Pell was basically going, "Well, I don't see why I should have to because I set up a goal. I come on and I changed the game, and it was hilarious." He was
Changed the
being he was
game.
being he was being flippant. He was, of course, he'd done his
Of
running,
course.
but the way he come on and tried to say it because he set up a goal as a sub, that got him away from doing some running.
Hmm.
But the spirit's good. I took it from that Harry Pell has been a bit part player this season. Yet there seemed to be a very good, I know you say spirit, that's the sort of thing you always hear, but to keep subs happy when they're not getting game time
Yeah.
is challenging. And that was quite pleasing from that point of view because none of the subs that I've seen have actually looked like they're going through the motions. It's a very competitive
Hmm.
um, bench, which is obviously we're showing at the moment because of the amount of games that we've got coming up.
Hmm. Makes a point about substitutes because back in the day, Stu, when football was better, you only had three subs on the bench, right? But you still have
Yeah.
fairly large squads because you know what they do? They'd go off and play in the reserves. They go and play in the reserves in the week, and everyone was quite happy with this system, and it seemed to work. I don't know what we just changed it for no reason, as far as I can tell. I always remember we won the reserve league one year, didn't we? I think it was. God, I want to say Andy Pearce and Alan Reeves, maybe.
Possibly.
There was a
Yeah, mate.
centre half pairing that played together pretty much every game for the reserves that season and won the reserve league, but never. Alan Reeves was a first teamer, but then he lost his place and his form tailed off dramatically, actually, for some reason around.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No,
hmm.
you're right. You're right. I remember it used to be called the combination
Yeah, yeah,
league, and I used to go down to Plough Lane, 2 p.m. kickoff. Even when we went to Sellers Park, we still used Plough
Plough
Lane. I
Lane.
think
Yeah,
for a season or so after. It might be 2 seasons. Yeah, it's something. I think we discussed it before, haven't we? Like we're not in a reserve league. I'm not even too sure if there are many reserve leagues
no,
because it feels like everyone's playing. So Brentford do it differently. Brentford don't have an academy, but they play B team fixtures,
yeah,
and they arrange friendlies, arrange friendlies with non-league teams and academies from foreign clubs, which I quite like the idea of. But yeah, we don't tend to have a. I know we've had a few behind closed door games, but not regular. So you're right. Your players like Harry Pell, James Ball, Nicolas Zanna. The only real action game time they're getting is bit part at the moment, or in the Bristol Street Trophy competition. That's all they're
mm,
getting.
yeah. It's not really the same thing, is it? So anyway, that's not for us to worry about, Stu. That's for other people to worry about. We've got more important things to talk about, and that is, well, obviously we had the win at Crawley on the
Vicky
Friday
Crawley.
night. Yep. I mean, yeah, we had that. We moved the game to the Friday night away from the Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff to give our players a little bit of extra recovery time, and that worked. That really worked very well, didn't it? Yeah, that really helped us. That extra day's rest we had, opposed to Sutton, who played on the Saturday. Anyway, but hey, nonetheless, 2-0 up at half time, and then a red card to Joe Lewis, two bookings, and then Crawley got a goal back, and we showed we showed different elements that you need to have to be successful, didn't we? We showed a team that went out on the front foot, got in front, made life difficult, scored goals, and then we saw the flip side of that in the second half, where we saw a team that was dug in, were resilient, and got over the line.
Yeah, I think Crawley got a good home record. I think they've won like 9 games. Well, I think they've won 10 now. So they won at Gillingham, who are going through a shocking time. But Crawley got a good record at home. And the first half, we made them look bang average, didn't we? In terms of that, could have been 3-0 up if Josh Davison had not stood in front of the goalkeeper on that side of it. And there were other chances. The sending off, I thought was a sending off. I didn't have any issues with it, I'm being honest with you. I know people said it's harsh, but the way the referee was booking everybody.
Yeah, we
um,
seem to
and
have yeah.
and also, to be fair, look, if you look at Jake Reeves, and if you look at body language, I always do. Jake Reeves was one that sold him short on that
Okay,
pass.
right,
And if you look at Jake Reeves after, Jake Reeves just walks the nose, doesn't even look back when he gets
right.
when. So I think sometimes players know, don't they? Do you know what I mean? But equally, I thought Crawley brought on good subs, put us under a lot of pressure. And we stood up to it. And I agree with you. Them sometimes games like that. I know we've obviously lost the next game against Sutton, which totally defeats my argument. But sometimes it can be making of teams when they dig in and stuff like that. So it was a really good points, and it will prove you good points. Sutton is a blip, hopefully. But yeah, it was always good to be called on a Friday night. And they didn't like it too much, did they? Bless them.
No, we don't really like Crawley though, do we? And let's be honest, there are some teams in League Two that could go back into non-league, and we wouldn't miss them, and they would be one of them. So anyway, apologies to any Crawley fans listening, but if you are any Crawley fans listening, why? Why are you listening? Weirdos. Um, then we get on to Sutton then. So we lost 1-0. We know about this. We know substitute centre half. Omar Smith scored the winning goal about midway through the second half. We will talk about that goal. Yes, in a moment. But Stu, I put on Twitter after it in a perverse way. I actually enjoyed the game on Boxing Day. I know we lost second year in a row that we've not turned up at home to Sutton. They'd come away with a 1-0 win without really having to do too much, to be honest with you. We were very poor. But I liked it for a couple of reasons. One, hey, in fairness, I like Jason Goodliff. I got a lot of time for Jason Goodliff, so I was pleased for him because I thought, you know what, he's come in a really difficult position, and he's obviously got a
Yeah,
team that's worked for him. They've played for him, and you can see his impact straight away. And I thought he was very clever during the game as well with his substitutions, which at times I thought looked a bit odd, but actually I think he timed them correctly and freshened up the team at the right times. And hey, look, fair play to him. He must have been
Yeah,
like beaming on Saturday night with that. The other reason was though, hey, look, we have been in good form over the past couple of months. We had big wins in two big wins in the FA Cup. We had a big win over Swindon, as we've mentioned, wins over Doncaster, over Notts County. It's been all good. The Crawley game, it's been all good. But the home games, especially, so Doncaster, Notts County, Ramsgate, Cheltenham, they kind of pissed me off a little bit, okay? Because I saw teams that were trying to overcomplicate things. And you're playing against us, and we have a massive high press. And against Doncaster, we showed we put pressure on, high up the pitch, we're going to force you into mistakes, we're going to score goals. Saw the same against Notts County. Even sodding Ramsgate thought they could build from the back and pass it out from the back, and that caused them all sorts of problems.
yeah,
And I kind of thought, do you know what? Let's actually now have a team that realizes they can't do that against us and presents a different challenge to us. And that's exactly what Sutton did. And we'll be better for it now because we will know that there are going to be times now teams are going to come to us. They're not going to try and play out from the back. They're not going to try and overcomplicate things. They're going to be direct. They're going to fight for second balls, and they're going to play off set pieces. And we've got to find a way to actually be able to attack teams that don't don't really take the game to us, don't give us that opportunity to play on the break and play in behind. So we're going to have to come up
yeah.
with a way of defeating that now. And Sutton have showed us or given us maybe a template for what other teams will do, and we can start to think about how to counteract that. So I thought
Yeah.
I think it's not a bad thing for us at all to have lost that game for that reason. But also, yeah, I actually enjoyed just watching something, especially when you said earlier about all these new phrases like expected goals and goal involvements and stuff like that. Sometimes it's nice to remember that football can be a simple game of 4-4-2. Do your basics, don't make mistakes, don't worry about all your data and your statistics and all your tactical nuances and stuff like that. Just do the basics and work hard,
Yeah.
and that can sometimes be enough.
The thing is, I don't think we're going to come up against many teams that play Sutton's way. And I don't think some teams are going to even adapt to that. Because I don't, what does Sutton do? Play the 4-4-2, put two big men up against our centre halves, which we don't really have that problem. I'm trying to think in the league who really plays two forwards and who plays two big lumps.
Yeah, true.
So they played Smith and they played Angle. So I thought Jason Goodliff was interesting. Brought players back that hadn't been available. So Goodliff got a half. That probably wasn't a difficult conversation. Can you play and help me out, mate?
Yeah.
Son. And Swamley. So obviously he can only get. And he was very. I watched his interview after the game, and he was very respectful.
Yeah, I would expect
Against
no
us,
less. Yeah.
which was it's classy because you could go there, but it was very classy with that. He said he could only get half a game out of both his centre halves. They hadn't been available for God knows how long. So he's obviously brought them back. They might not have been fit. It could have been a risk if they got injured because they're big players for them. But I think what they stopped us doing, they stopped us playing out from the back. Obviously, there was no point us going high tempo against them because they didn't play the ball. They got the ball back to front very quickly, didn't they?
Yeah.
Won their set pieces. I think the disappointment for me is that we didn't react to that. We could all see at half time that when we don't win or we don't play well, it normally means that Little and Reeves in midfield are not getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have a good game, they're pivotal really for us in that way. And I felt probably we probably need to bring, I was saying at half time, probably need to bring Ball and Pearl on here, not to replace them like for like, but just to get some height because we just weren't winning any scraps.
Yeah.
So I think my disappointment was that we didn't probably react quick enough. Obviously, Johnny Jackson wasn't on the bench because he got his marching orders up at Crawley.
Yeah.
Does that make an impact? It's difficult to know, isn't it? There's loads of things you can say. Did we lose because Johnny Jackson was on the touchline? Unlikely, but is it as easy to make changes when? So there's a few things that disappointed me, but if you look at the goal is exactly a Sutton goal, and I mean that with all much respect. But I think before that, Omar was on anything like that. Omar was screening every time on Harry Smith's toes.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think you clocked it, but for some reason he wasn't. I know he was getting a little bit of grief from the referee. I think the referee was literally saying to him, "You're totaling up fouls at the moment. You're going to get a booking very soon." Because Omar is one of those you just have some niggly fouls, didn't he, for all game?
Yep. Oh yes.
So I think there was a conversation, and then for some reason I didn't screen the ball, and that's why it looks rubbish because the ball bounces because there's no screen.
Yeah.
And then it looks a terrible goal, doesn't it? But we didn't react. If Ali had a quiet game. I can't really think of any. You ain't got to look at both our wingers got taken off.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the ball out wide. So Sutton played a very good game against us. Nothing really to surprise us, but I was probably a bit disappointed of how we reacted with making changes. That would be my frustration.
Yeah, two things I want to pick up on. I'll come back to the goal in a second. So, yeah, again, because in the pro, so well, first quick question, Johnny Jackson, what is the deal with being suspended off the touchline? Is he like, can we? I'm assuming he communicates with the dugout during a game from wherever he is. He's obviously in the dressing room, I assume, at half time and pre-game.
I'm not sure. I wasn't around there this time. I know he was sitting up with the iFollow cameras. He was on the
Right.
third floor.
Okay.
He was up there, and I think he was communicating with Rob TV via. I know he had his
Right.
what he called earbuds things in.
Yeah.
Whether he can go into the dress room and have the conversation, I don't really know, to be honest with you.
No.
Um, yeah, I didn't ask. I know he was up there. Let's be fair, right? If you want to sneak into the change rooms, it's not that difficult. Was there a referee outside the change room going, John, you can't come in? So
Yeah,
I would
exactly. Yeah.
assume, or do
Checking
we put him in?
every laundry
Was he
basket.
Hayden? Was he Hayden for the day?
Oh,
Like, do
that
we?
was a great shout. Oh my word, how's no one ever thought of this before? That would be so
I
good.
think I think Jose Mourinho apparently did. I think he
Yeah, he
was
did.
band.
Yeah, he did the laundry basket thing. Yeah, in Europe. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but they also talked about whether doing a mascot as well.
Oh,
That was a
jeez.
different way of doing it. So my thing is, I don't think you can stop. I don't think you can stop if you don't want to. So I imagine he would have been in the change rooms. But you know what? I know. Hey, look, we've got Steve Evans and Rayner at Stevenage, notorious for touchline. What's the word? Effectively using the touchline.
Antics.
Yeah, that's the word. I think there was something in that. I'm not saying we lost because of that, but is it easy? He would have had a better. We've set up there, haven't we? And you get a great view tactically,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
but communication wise. So I'm not saying we lost because of that, but it's just a throw in as well.
Yeah. I mean, in the program, it was pointed out, I think Ray Armfield on Twitter pointed this one out about program notes and how Johnny had said in his program notes how we were adapting to face different challenges that other teams face. But I must say, like, I think, and I have the point, if we've got a weakness this season, I think it is that. I think we can adjust tactics and change how we go about things. We saw that we changed the way we started with the lineup against Crawley, for example, and Notts County. We've seen we can do it, but then during a game, not so much. I think we haven't. I can't think of times where during a game we've really changed things that have switched a game in our favour.
No, not noticeably. It's a difficult one, though, isn't it? Because I think the key thing is, and I know you're not. I think the key thing is not to get too hot up about a defeat against the
Oh
team that's
no, no,
bottom.
yeah, no, no.
You know,
We're used
and
to
if
this.
we,
Well, this is what we do.
yeah, and Sutton is a local derby. Hey, look, do you know what? I watched Sutton. I watched the Sutton Mansfield game a couple of days before, and Sutton were terrible,
Yeah,
like terrible. So I think the local derby games are up for it. They had a big away following, and that sometimes can it's a local derby. Yeah, sometimes they can just throw up random results on that. But I think the key, if you go back to like Swindon and Notts County, both those teams changed their formation during the game to combat us.
yeah,
So,
true.
I think our form, I think the way we play is the right way to play. Sutton, you won't. I'm trying to think of any other teams that play very Sutton-like. Harrogate potentially, Newport, who maybe go back to front quickly.
Yeah,
But you're right what you're saying. Most teams want to play this beautiful, beautiful, free-flowing football, and that's perfect for us because we can press high and we get a lot of joy. We just got done by not adapting to how Sutton play, which hey, look, it's frustrating, but I know we're going to probably preview Colchester, but Colchester play very much a passing game, so actually we probably will play better.
yeah.
Touchwood, we're not going to face many Suttons this year. Well,
No,
not again, which
no,
is
not
good.
again, thankfully. And maybe never again. We shall see. They're still in a lot of trouble down at the bottom there. I want to make a point though, coming back to the goal, because you talked about Omar screening Smith, which he did for every long throw. There was Pierce behind, and Omar would step in front and try and squeeze him out. Now, here's my little my actual moment, because yeah, as I say, I'm not the defeat doesn't bother me. Hey, look, sure, I can't get annoyed or angry with anything because this is the first season in however many seasons where we're not worrying about relegation. Let's be honest,
Yeah,
we're not at all. Okay, all right. So I know some people are talking about we wanting to be in the top seven and whatever. Again, no expectations of that. We're fine. All right. There's nothing to get angry about this season. It's all good. But the one thing I will highlight is, yeah, the goal. And I think you're right. So Omar was screening, but for the goal, he loses his train of thought and he goes to track their runner. One of their players makes a near post run, and Omar goes for some reason, even though Jack Curry is the one that's marking him, and Jack goes as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Omar did lose concentration because he was getting himself involved with he's becoming this season's Harry Pell for getting involved in things that doesn't need to get involved in.
And
So
Sutton fans are on his case.
well, because Sutton fans, and I've listened to a couple of Sutton fans post the game as well, and they have referenced the fact that, they know what he was like, obviously from their experience, and he is very much this player. He is the wind-up merchant of the team, and he does love a little bit of the
Mm.
niggles and the fun and games. He'd gone down after having a little word with Harry Smith. He went down in the box, clutching his ribs and everything, and the ref was just like not having any of it, and
That's right.
it was a little bit embarrassing. Um, for all involved. And I think maybe his head in that moment wasn't in it. And I think his head wasn't in it at all, to be honest with you. And I think on days like Boxing Day, when Omar's in that sort of mood, he got booked, he was persistent fouling. When he doesn't have he's very good in the air when he gets a run on a centre half and he can win those flick-ons. But if you can't get a run on, he doesn't even attempt it. He just tries to nudge or foul, gives away free kicks. So frustrating. When he's in one of those moods, there's no point in him being there, to be honest with you. And I'm not being hard. I'm being just when he's in one of those
No,
moods,
I give you that. Yeah.
like I'm not sure what he's bringing us when he's in those sorts of moods. And again, he got sent off against Doncaster as well, wasn't he, for being silly, and being niggly and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's just one thing. That's one thing I say. Harry Pell got a lot of stick last season for his antics and stuff like that. And I think it's only fair we sort of say, look, if we've got someone here, we don't want another Pell on our hands. And when he has days like that, you're kind of like, it's just super frustrating, super frustrating. Anyway,
Well, hey, the rumor is Harry Pell may get a lot more game time because we're hearing on the grapevine that Omar may potentially get a late call up for Lebanon in the Asian Cup.
well, how many players how many do we need? Three to get all our games called off for January? Because
I don't think there's actual.
Ali's
I don't think there's an actual rule in that, is it? And also, when would you replay the games?
well, yeah, we'd have to extend the season by a month. But Ali and Omar both gone potentially. I
Yeah.
mean, we knew that just means we have to get a striker. We were already getting a striker in, weren't we, in January? But
Well, we were
probably need
already
two.
short. Let's be fair, we were already short. We could argue that we couldn't change too much because we didn't have a. We're using Harry Pell as an Omar replacement. That feels
Mm,
more.
mm,
Harry Pell's not a number 10 or something like that.
no,
But yeah, the grapevine is that it will be. Lebanon have just brought in a new manager who Omar got games international call ups under. And apparently, rumour is that this manager wants to bring in some of his older guard for the Asian Cup. And why the hell are you having a cup competition in the middle of the season? Like, it's just you got the African Nations Cup, you got the Asian Cup. We had the World Cup last year, didn't we? In the middle
yeah,
of the season.
yeah,
It just feels like FIFA. Just do one. And also, we don't get any compensation for losing
yeah.
Ali.
I've
So
heard
in the
this.
World Cup, we got compensation for Wisconsin, didn't we? Apparently, and again, I've not looked into this heavily, but I think a few people have. We don't get any compensation for losing Ali for most of January. And if we now end up losing Omar for, well, 1 second, we're a League Two club. We signed him for a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It does feel, I think it's crazy, But if it looks like Omar may go, I think the it may have been by the time this podcast comes out. I think the squads aren't being announced. He was in the provisional, so they named a 30
okay.
man squad or 33-man squad in November. They have to name a provisional squad.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was he was in that provisional squad,
Okay. Right.
and I think they can take up to 26 players. Um, and it's in Qatar, of course it is.
Of course it is.
Um,
Don't get me started.
and it's one of those, isn't it? Because you want any player that you have, international recognition is great, and you want them to have that international recognition, but not at the expense of a month near enough. I think the last game they will play will be Forest Green Rovers. Ali is available for Forest Green Rovers, and then they go. But we lose them for international. We obviously lose them for
Ipswich.
important FA Cup game. I think Ipswich have got two players. I did have a nosy. Ipswich have lost two players to either the African Nations or the Asian Cup.
Do you know what?
Um,
Yeah, because but I think one of them's refused to go. I think I just saw this. Morsey, is it Sam Morsey?
Morsey's the one that's down on the list to go. There
He's,
was a tweet I saw. Does he
I
refuse
think,
to go?
I think he said he's unavailable. He's marked
But
himself
can't
unavailable.
can't there was, and I know we're going a little bit off topic, but wasn't there talk about Man United as a goalkeeper, Anana as an name is
Anana.
Africa.
Yeah.
Apparently if he didn't go, then he would effectively be suspended because he should be on his national duty.
I see. Okay, fair enough.
So I don't know, unless Morsey retires from, I don't know. I'm not encouraging anyone to get around the rules.
Hi,
Um,
hi, Chris Hussey.
yeah. Can we just go? And look, do you know what? Omar won't get a chance to play an Asian Cup if he's successful in getting called up. So great for him,
Yeah.
but it's shit. It's shit for us. Like, let's be fair. That's our strike force
Well, that is well.
gone.
This is the thing. Is it's like as I say, like the partnership works. This is the thing.
Yeah,
So you've got to find. I think Josh is a great replacement because he'll put in the same running and the same yards as Omar will.
yeah,
But
yeah.
neither Omar nor Josh are out and out prolific goal scorers.
No,
Um,
no,
so
no.
once you
And
take
you
Ali
can't.
out, you're in trouble.
But let's be fair. How can you replace Ali? Ali is just unique in terms of his skill set.
Yeah.
You know, and that's your problem. You can put Josh Davidson and play him as Ali, but he's not Ali, as
No.
we, and that's why Ali is touted by many, many clubs because of he's got that ability to occupy two centre halves, run the channels. You can't replace him. That's your problem.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, let's
Mm.
just hope. Let's hope in a way Omar doesn't get a call up, but I'll be pleased for him if he does. If that
Yeah, of
makes any
course. Yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, absolutely. But we'll watch this space, I suppose, in that regard. We were expecting, as we say, a striker to come in anyway in January. Do you think we need a Harry Smith type? Just that that option of having that sort of player up front, big,
I would
strong
like,
target man.
yeah, I would like two in it. I mean, honest with you, I think we're short in the forward line. I really do. I think we're short. Don't forget, Zach Robinson's out on loan to Dundee.
True. Yeah.
I know we forget he's our player, but I think we need two. I think we need a lump, someone, and also someone who can run in behind. We don't have that pace. I know we've used Josh Nerville as
Mm,
alongside Addy. I don't mind that as much. I don't mind that. He's got pace, and if you look at the goal he set up for Ali at Pompey, that's something that he can do.
mm,
But he's not an out and out forward, and it's not an option that I think is going to get you through half a season if we're going to want to try and keep around the
yeah.
playoffs. I'm being honest with you, but I can probably see us dipping more into the loan market. I think the loan market is something you utilise more in January than you do in August because you keep them for the rest of the season. And let's be fair, we got some good ones last year with McAteer, didn't we? Who's now in the Leicester team.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we probably see Andy Thorne come into his own because he's got the contacts along with Craig Cope. So I'm probably expecting some decent loans. But I think that's probably where we go. I think that's probably where we go.
Yeah, I just want to make a point as well, just to sort of further illustrate my point about what I was saying about Omar earlier. Harry Smith for Sutton is also absolutely is their master of the shithousery. But on on Boxing Day, he wasn't getting involved in that stuff, and he was fully
No, he
concentrated,
didn't.
and that's the difference, isn't it? That's the um
Oh no, he did one. I don't know if you saw it. He did one thing where he went to go and get the ball from behind the goal or on the side of the
okay,
goal, and
yeah.
the fans gave him a grief, and he went to pretend to throw it
Oh, I
back
see.
at them. And you know what? But you're right because I thought Harry Smith is someone that you can wind up and has got
Yeah.
himself sent off.
Yes.
But actually, yeah, you're right. He didn't get involved in any of that, and actually, Sutton kept their discipline
Yeah.
because
That's it. Yeah.
we did try and rattle them, but in the end, we rattled ourselves.
Yeah. Well, we are
Anyway,
going to.
let's move on to Sutton.
Yes, let's
Who's
move on
Sutton?
because we are running rapidly out of time. So, Aaron's super match game very, very quickly. Stu, nice, very simple, easy one. The last time AFC Wimbledon enjoyed a victory on Boxing Day was in 2018 with a much needed win over blank blank.
I just really played Pompey. So it's going to be a blank blank Wickham Wanderers.
It's not a bad guess to be fair because they'd have been local, but no, it was in League One and it was
With
Plymouth
United.
Argyle.
That's a
Yeah.
local derby, isn't it?
Well, no, but yeah, I mean, you have to feel sorry for Plymouth, don't you? In that league, especially when there was no one within hours of them in the division, the closest they could get on Boxing Day was us. But rather them come to us than we had to go to them, I suppose.
Saying that, I know Sky have got a derby on TV over the holiday period. Southampton versus Plymouth. massive local derby in that part of the world.
That part of the world is getting bigger and bigger, isn't it? I think. Um,
Well, there's no one down that part of the world. That's the
well,
problem.
in one part of the world, one half of that pair there is, but not less so the other. But never mind.
Cool.
Um, Talking about southern, I mean, Colchester are actually north of us, when it's just. But anyway,
Yes.
so confusing, isn't it? They visit, but they are south of us in the table at the moment. Very good, you see. They are currently 22nd, but they are 6 points above the relegation zone. They're 6 points above Sutton, who are in 21st, even though they have played a game more than Sutton. Last six, they have won one, lost five, and they have lost their last four away from home. These are not encouraging statistics. Matthew Eddington is in charge there after a little bit of a delay earlier in the season, trying to get him away from Crawley or whatever was going on there with his contract. John Akindi still plays for them at 86 years of age, and Cameron McGeehan, who is a player of immense quality, but I think
Yeah.
injuries may have caused a little bit of a
Luton from
yeah,
memory, isn't it?
yeah, very, very good when he was at Luton in League One, especially. But I think injuries have caused him a few problems. But yeah, I mean, Colchester at home, they'll they'll probably come and try. I don't. They're losing by single goals the last few games. They won by a single goal against Salford. Their one victory in the last six. Lost, as I say, they lost away at Milton Keynes the other day. What do you reckon? I reckon we should win this one as a reaction to Boxing Day, but I can see this being a draw.
No disrespect to Colchester, but it's a bit of a damn squib, isn't it? In terms of,
Yeah,
uh,
it's not a great game. No, it's not a great
do you know what I
fixture.
mean? I'm not saying that I want to play someone like Stockport or anything like that because that's a tougher game, but it's one of those. I think we'll win. I think we've done well. We've bounced back well from um, defeats, and I think Jack Curry come out and was really disappointed in terms. So I think there'll be a reaction. Yeah, Akinde, watch out for Joe Taylor, who they picked up from non-league, 10 goals this season. Liked him when we played there in the season. I liked him. Looks a real decent player. So I suppose we've got to be careful, but yeah, I think we should win. I think we should win, and yeah, like I say, you don't want to lose two on a spin. We haven't. I think we've only done that when we've got beat by Accrington and Morecambe. So
Yeah.
that's not a bad stat. So I think we will bounce back. And I'm expecting a clean sheet. Probably, I'm going for a 4-0.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
With
Nothing
four
much.
goals. I got starved of them. We had no goals on Boxing Day.
We haven't. We've actually gone a game and a half without a goal at the moment. So yeah, I'm sure that'll
Yes.
come to an end. I'm sure we will score. I think we will score on Friday. But anyway, elsewhere in the division, just very quickly, Salford versus Grimsby is a fixture that screams out to me, just because they are two clubs that at the moment are in a little bit of a muddle, and Salford have just parted company with their manager. So that'll be interesting down the bottom to see what happens, the fate of those two clubs. We, of course, then go to Forest Green away on New Year's Day. And again, I mean, you think we think we'd win that, but we struggled against them earlier in the season, of course. So again, we shall see.
Yeah. Hey, look, so it's not. There's obviously a few sackings at the moment. I can't. Neil Wood going from Salford is probably a little bit delayed. I know there's some people giving Gary Neville a bit of grief saying he's got rid of another manager, but I think they stuck by him quite a bit. I think they've changed their style of football, gone from a possession-based team to a long ball team. But I think it's this part of the season where window's going to open soon. So I think Colchester, the way they're going, they may have a third manager by the time they finish the season.
Mm.
Wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, not surprised. But yeah, I love it. The holiday season football. It's all good, isn't it?
There is yes, it's football at this time of year, really squeezing the game in before we then go into a couple of difficult weeks with Ipswich in the FA Cup, which, as we said, without one or maybe two players is going to be a little bit tricky, and then Wrexham away following that. But obviously, we'll talk
Let's
about
not
that
forget
another time.
Oxford. Oxford visit Cherry Record Stadium for the Bristol Rovers. Sorry, not the Bristol Rovers, the Bristol Street Trophy. It's the last 16 of the Southern section, Nick. It's getting exciting.
Those are the words of Stuart Deacons. I will say nothing on this score. Very quickly, because we are really running out of time, Stu. Three, at this point of the season, your prediction for who will finish in top three in League Two?
Stockport, Barrow, and Wrexham.
Cool, not Mansfield.
I don't think they've got enough. Mansfield are like they're always the also rans, aren't they? They're like the ones who go to the wedding but never get married.
Well, thank you very much for joining me this week, Stu.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. But Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, 2 + 2 = 4. And as I say, we shall speak to you again next week. Happy New Year.